Alright, so picture this. It's February 1778, and across the Atlantic in the smoky chambers of the British Parliament, things are getting tense. The news of American victories, especially Saratoga, has rattled the British establishment. They've got a revolution on their hands, and now France has officially jumped in to back the American cause. That's right, the mighty French have just signed the Franco-American alliance, and if you're a British politician, you're not exactly thrilled about it. So what does Britain do? Well, on February 17th, 1778, they try something different. Instead of fighting the Americans, they think, hey, maybe we can negotiate them back under British control. And thus, the conciliatory propositions are born. Parliament pushes forward this desperate last-ditch peace offering to bring the colonies back into the British fold, without, admitting outright defeat. But let's dig into this setup, because there's way more going on here than meets the eye. So first off, let's backtrack to understand why Britain felt the need to play the peace card. In the late 1770s, the British Empire is stretched thin. They've poured resources into putting down the American uprising, yet all they have to show for it is an endless cycle of battles with no clear path to victory. Add to that the political fallout back home. The British people are not exactly jazzed about funding a distant, brutal war. And then, bam, the Continental Army lands a major victory at Saratoga. Saratoga wasn't just a battle, it was a massive morale boost for the Americans and a massive blow to British ego. This battle signaled to the world, hey, these American rebels, they might actually have a shot. France takes notice and signs that alliance, promising to send aid, military support, and most importantly, its navy. For Britain, that's like hearing your arch nemesis is now on your rival's speed dial. So now, British Parliament comes up with what they think is a peace plan, known as the conciliatory propositions. Imagine a group of British politicians sitting in a smoky room trying to save face. They can't just say we surrender because that would look terrible. Instead, they decide to make some concessions. The idea? Offer the Americans almost everything they wanted, almost. They'd let the colonies handle their own taxes and internal affairs but still keep them under the British crown. It was like offering a best of both worlds package. Americans get some autonomy, but Britain still calls the shots on big picture stuff. Think of it as the, we're still in charge, but you can pretend to be free deal. Charles James Fox, a rising star in Parliament, is all for this plan. He thinks that compromise might be the only way to hold on to the colonies without bleeding the empire dry. Fox argues, let them govern themselves, pay some minor dues, and we'll all just get along. Meanwhile, other British officials aren't quite convinced. They're still holding out hope that military might alone can crush the rebellion. Parliament is divided, but they decide to push the proposition through and see if they can reel the Americans back in. Here's the twist. When this British peace offer reaches America, the Continental Congress doesn't even consider it. To them, this whole conciliatory propositions thing feels like too little, too late. With French support now in the bag, the Americans have the momentum, the morale, and most importantly, the resources they were lacking before. They feel like they finally got Britain on the ropes. Plus, let's be real here, these folks are fighting for independence, not for a bit more freedom under British rule. Leaders like John Adams and Benjamin Franklin don't see this as a genuine peace offer. They see it as Britain scrambling to regain control over a situation that's spiraling out of their grasp. In Franklin's words, we don't just want a bigger cage, we want out of the cage entirely. So Congress gives the British offer a big old nope. And they don't mince words about it. In fact, they decide to double down on their fight for full independence, rallying their forces and digging in deeper. There's no turning back now. Back in Britain, this rejection hits hard. Parliament had hoped to sidestep a prolonged war, but now it's clear, there's no easy way out. Their empire, which once felt invincible, is now facing the very real possibility of losing its American colonies altogether. And with France now actively in the war, it's not just a matter of colonial rebellion, it's becoming a full-scale international conflict. The British public starts questioning whether this war is worth it. They're being taxed to support an unpopular conflict. The casualties keep piling up, and now they have to worry about French ships in the Atlantic. Prime Minister Lord North realizes they're dealing with a disaster, but there's no choice but to keep fighting. Surrender isn't an option, not yet anyway. The British attempt at peace marked a significant turning point in the Revolutionary War. While it was a symbol of British pragmatism, it was also a powerful reminder of how much the Americans had achieved. This wasn't just a skirmish between a colony and its motherland anymore, it had evolved into a war that would decide the future of the Atlantic world. By rejecting this proposal, the Continental Congress cemented the resolve of the American people. They showed Britain and the world that they were willing to stand their ground, no matter the cost. The rejection of the conciliatory proposition sent a clear message. The United States would accept nothing short of full independence. This wasn't just about freedom, it was about establishing a nation based on principles that would later inspire countless revolutions and movements around the globe. And that's the wild tale of Britain's last-ditch attempt to talk America out of independence. A peace offer that went down in flames and only made the American resolve burn brighter. After this, there was no turning back. The Americans had come too far, fought too hard, and now, with France backing them, they were ready to see this fight through to the bitter end. So the war raged on, and the colonies kept pushing forward inch by bloody inch towards the dawn of a new nation.